sometimes the final curtain call is just the beginning of the real story. We are about to uncover the shocking truths hidden in the shadows of Hollywood's elite. Join us on Legacy Unmasked as we dig into the secrets revealed only after tragedy struck. Take James Dean, the ultimate rebel. Born February 8, 1931. In Marion, Indiana, he transformed into the eternal face of misunderstood youth, with masterpiece performances in East of Eden and Rebel Without a Cause. Alongside his work in Giant, Dean became more than just an actor. He was a cultural phenomenon gripping the world with visceral emotion and raw intensity. Even though his time on the silver screen was fleeting, lasting only a few short years, his performances rewrote the rulebook for cinema history, impacting every method actor who followed. Tragically, this bright flame was extinguished far too soon at just 24 years old on September 30th, 1955. He met his fate in a horrific collision while piloting his Porsche 550 Spyder, a beast of a machine he nicknamed Little Bastard. He was en route to a competition in Salinas, California. While the world knew the actor, few realized that racing was his true obsession, a thrill he chased relentlessly. Long before the cameras rolled, he was tearing up the track. This need for speed only deepened the legend of a star who lived on the edge of danger. Decades later, Dean's footprint on pop culture remains untouched. He didn't just play a troubled kid, he embodied the fragility and fire of youth, creating a legacy that refuses to fade. The heartbreaking nature of his premature departure only cemented his status as an immortal screen god, leaving a massive void in the entertainment world that has never quite been filled. His life serves as a haunting reminder of potential cut short. He may be gone, but the ghost of James Dean still haunts the highways of Hollywood history. Then there is the dark, scandalous tale of Bob Crane, famous for playing the charming Colonel Hogan on the hit series Hogan's Heroes. Crane's life ended in a grisly murder on June 29, 1978. At 49, he was found lifeless in his Scottsdale, Arizona residence, the victim of catastrophic head trauma that shocked the first responders. Detectives determined he had been bludgeoned with a blunt instrument, likely a camera tripod with an electrical cord tightened around his neck, a crime of pure rage. But as police peeled back the layers of his private life, a scandal erupted that shattered his wholesome image. Crane was living a shocking double life. Inside his home, authorities uncovered a massive cache of homemade adult tapes and photos proving the sitcom dad was directing his own X-rated reality. This obsession with recording his exploits had been a well-kept secret, known only to a tight circle of insiders who shared his darker appetites. One of those insiders was his co-star Richard Dawson. While the public saw a hero, his friends saw a man consumed by a compulsive need to document his conquests. Dawson later admitted to witnessing the collection, describing Crane's home as a hub for illicit production. Even those closest to him were largely in the dark. His second wife, actress Sigrid Valdis, knew he loved photography, but she had no idea his lens was focused on such graphic subject matter until it was too late. Crane had introduced her to his hobby early in their romance, but the true explicit nature of his archives remained hidden from her view for years. Most chilling was a statement Valdis recalled where Crane wished he could simply delete the women in his life with a button press once he was done with them. The murder probe eventually zeroed in on John Henry Carpenter, a video equipment salesman and friend who shared Crane's notorious nightlife habits. In 1994, Carpenter faced trial for the killing. Though the legal battle was intense, the case remains one of Hollywood's murkiest mysteries. With Carpenter gone and questions unanswered, the shadow of Crane's secret vices continues to loom over his memory. Next, we look at the graceful Audrey Hepburn. Her rise to fame started in the early 50s, sparked by the legendary writer Colette, who saw a star the moment she laid eyes on the young actress. Colette demanded Audrey take the lead in the Broadway version of Gigi, a move that launched her straight into the heart of Tinseltown's spotlight. This led to the role of a lifetime in Roman Holiday. Her portrayal of Princess Anne was so captivating, it secured her the Academy Award for Best Actress. Yet her true calling came later, as a tireless crusader for UNICEF, where she devoted her final years to saving children in the world's poorest regions. The world lost an angel on January 20th, 1993, when she succumbed to a rare form of cancer at 63. But her heroism started long before Hollywood. As a girl, Audrey possessed a warrior's spirit. Trapped in the Netherlands during the brutal Nazi occupation of the Second World War, she fought back. She didn't hold a gun. She used her talent. Audrey performed in clandestine Black Evening recitals to fund the Dutch resistance risking execution. Beyond the stage, she acted as a courier delivering messages and money to help downed Allied pilots evade capture and find safety behind the lines. She rarely spoke of these dangerous missions while alive, and it was only after her death that historians fully uncovered the extent of her bravery. In 2020, a documentary exposed another layer of her soul, a deep-seated melancholy that hid behind her radiant and famous smile. This pain stemmed from the trauma of her father walking out on the family when she was merely 6 years old, a wound that never truly healed. In a 1992 interview, she confessed how that abandonment left her battling lifelong insecurity. Yet through the heartache, Audrey Hepburn remains the ultimate beacon of dignity, resilience, and compassion. Finally, we remember the manic genius and sorrow of Robin Williams, a man whose brain moved faster than the speed of light, known for his limitless energy and a wit that could disarm anyone in mere seconds. He exploded onto the scene as the alien Mork, but quickly proved he was more than just a sitcom comic transitioning into a dramatic powerhouse. Films like Good Morning Vietnam brought accolades, while Dead Poets Society showed us a teacher who taught the world to seize the day with passion. But when the camera stopped rolling, Robin was fighting a war against invisible demons, battling severe depression and addiction for decades. Even while carrying his own heavy cross, he remained open about his mental health, desperately trying to raise awareness and help others find the light. The world stood still in grief on August 11, 2014, when the beloved Robin Williams left us at 63. While the initial reports pointed to severe depression, the autopsy later unmasked a far more insidious and complicated enemy lurking within his mind. Robin had been secretly battling Lewy body dementia, a rare, aggressive, and progressive brain disorder. This devastating condition triggered intense hallucinations, paranoia, and erratic mood swings, which sadly contributed to the tragic end of his life. In heartbreaking interviews, Robin's widow, Susan Schneider Williams, clarified that the depression was merely one small fragment of the torture he endured. She recounted the chilling moment doctors assessed the damage, stating it was among the most catastrophic cases of the pathology they had ever witnessed. Robin's passing created an unfillable chasm in Hollywood, yet his spirit endures through his cinematic masterpieces and his tireless, compassionate fight for mental health visibility. His life story stands as a profound testament to the hidden battles of the mind and the desperate need for empathy and deep understanding. Laurence Olivier, arguably the most titanic figure in the history of stage and cinema, took his final bow on July 11, 1989, at the age of 82. While his professional reputation is immortal, the details of his private existence expose a much more tormented reality. As a schoolboy, Olivier endured horrific abuse at the hands of a priest and teacher, a trauma that cast a long, dark shadow over his entire existence. Compounding this pain, he lost his mother at a tender age, while his father remained coldly indifferent to him. This emotional abandonment sculpted the deep insecurities that plagued Olivier's future. While his star rose and he became celebrated for his commanding presence in both plays and movies behind the curtain, he fought a crippling war with stage fright. In 1971, during a high-stakes run of Eugene O'Neill's Long Day's Journey into Night, Olivier's ability to recall his lines began to crumble. The production's director, Michael Blakemore, observed that the aging legend was suffering immensely during rehearsals, a sight that was painful to watch. Olivier eventually confessed to this paralyzing terror in his own memoir, Confessions of an Actor. He admitted that the anxiety was so physical, he required a bucket backstage to vomit into before the curtain rose, often needing his stage manager to literally shove him into the spotlight once the panic subsided. Despite his undeniable genius, Olivier's internal war with childhood scars and the crushing fear of performance stayed concealed for decades, a stark contrast to his public image as the fearless god of acting. Then there is John Candy, the treasured Canadian icon, who stole scenes with his immense heart and wit in classics like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Uncle Buck. Yet few fans know the touching reason he rejected a golden ticket to join Saturday Night Live, a decision that highlights his unwavering dedication to his family. Back in 1981, Candy was a hot commodity and caught the eye of SNL mastermind Lorne Michaels. Michaels extended an invitation to join the legendary late-night sketch troupe, a move which would have undoubtedly launched him into the stratosphere of American stardom. However, Candy declined, choosing to remain with the Canadian. hit SCTV, where he had already carved out a niche for his brilliant character work. This choice wasn't just about professional loyalty. It was a calculated move to protect his work-life harmony. Candy later explained that he walked away from SNL specifically to avoid the toxic, high-octane lifestyle the show was famous for, known for its grueling hours and rampant party atmosphere. The SNL was the antithesis of the stable family first life Candy craved. His daughter Jennifer validated this sentiment on the 30th anniversary of his passing, remembering her dad as the ultimate family man who always placed his wife and children above Hollywood ladders. Candy left us too soon from a heart attack at age 43 on March 4, 1994, leaving a void filled only by his movies and kindness. His rejection of fame for family reminds us to subscribe to our own values, much like we do at Legacy Unmasked. Grace Kelly, the silver screen goddess who transformed into actual royalty, met a devastating end on September 14, 1982, at just 52 years old. She perished from trauma caused by a car crash in Monaco, with reports suggesting she suffered a stroke at the wheel. Grace's ascent to global stardom ignited with her breakout role in High Noon, acting opposite Gary Cooper. Her raw talent in The Country Girl later won her the Academy Award for Best Actress, cementing her status as Tinseltown's reigning queen. However, the fairy tale facade hid a brutal upbringing. She was raised in a volatile home with a physically violent mother and sister and a deeply prejudiced father who once tried to bribe her. Jewish boyfriend with a Jaguar just to make him disappear. These dark family secrets and her illicit romances were exposed in the explosive biography Grace Kelly Hollywood Dream Girl by Jay Jorgensen and Manoa Bowman, published 35 years post-mortem. The book details how Grace's father, John Kelly, was obsessed with his business and social climbing, sparing no affection for his daughter. He, sadly never cracked the elite inner circle of old money Philadelphia because of his blue-collar roots. Despite these crushing obstacles, Grace clawed her way to the pinnacle of cinema and eventually the throne of Monaco. Yet her marriage to Prince Rainier III came with its own gilded cage and silent suffering, which Grace masterfully concealed until the end. Abandoned her career to assume the heavy responsibilities of a princess, diving deep into charity work. Yet biographies suggest Grace missed the thrill of performing and struggled with deep depression, aware that her artistic life was finished. Then there is Chadwick Boseman, who rose to global superstardom through his intense portrayals of historical legends and superheroes, captivating the world with his raw talent and unmatched focus. He first grabbed headlines as Jackie Robinson in the movie 42, where he vividly captured the pain and victories of the first African-American Major League Baseball player. However, it was his legendary performance as T'Challa the Black Panther in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that secured his place as a worldwide phenomenon. But unknown to the masses, Boseman was secretly fighting a stage 3 colon cancer diagnosis he received back in 2016. Even as the disease ruthlessly advanced to stage 4, he worked with superhuman exhaustion, filming some of his greatest hits. Blockbusters like Black Panther, Marshall, and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom were all shot while he endured brutal surgeries and chemotherapy. His grit and willpower were awe-inspiring to the tiny circle who knew the truth, though the gravity of his situation was kept from the public. On August 28, 2020, Boseman left us at just 43. The news devastated fans and co-stars alike, as he had never once whispered a word about his condition. The heartbreaking announcement on his official Twitter became the most liked tweet in history, racking up over 6 million likes in 24 hours. For more hidden stories, subscribe to Legacy Unmasked. Boseman's impact extends way beyond his acting accolades. He stood as a beacon of resilience and elegance, showing us what true perseverance looks like when life hits you hardest. His version of T'Challa gave us a hero unlike any other, and his life story continues to fuel our spirits. Then we have Gene Wilder. The beloved comedy legend Gene Wilder said goodbye on August 29, 2016 at 83. Famous for his unforgettable magic in films like Willy Wonka and The Chocolate Factory, Blazing Saddles, and Young Frankenstein, Wilder's death crushed fans everywhere. But here's the secret most people missed. The actor had been living in the shadow of Alzheimer's disease for years before the end. Wilder's career kicked off in the 1960s and quickly exploded with roles that defined a generation. He was the king of mixing total absurdity with genuine charm, and his partnership with director Mel Brooks is the stuff of Hollywood. Legend. Despite the fame, Wilder was intensely private, shielding his real life from the prying eyes of the press. He kept working in movies until 2003 when he finally stepped back for a quieter existence. It was only after he passed that his family unlocked the truth about his health battles. In a touching statement released via US Weekly, they revealed that Wilder had been fighting Alzheimer's disease for quite some time. However, he made the conscious choice to keep it hidden, terrified that the news would taint the joy and pure happiness that his fans, especially the young children, associated with him. His family clarified that this decision was not about vanity, but rather an act of deep love for those who adored his work. Wilder simply could not stand the idea of creating one less smile in this world. His legacy survives not just in his classic movies, but in the laughter he gifted to generations of audiences. Now let's talk about Mary Tyler Moore. She was worshipped not just for her acting chops, but for her natural beauty, that electric smile and perfect comedic timing. She shot to stardom as Laura, Petrie on The Dick Van Dyke Show, flashing her wit and charm, but it was her work on The Mary Tyler Moore Show that truly locked in her status as a television goddess. Outside of TV, Moore dazzled in films like Ordinary, people landing an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Throughout her dazzling career, Moore was a Hollywood darling. However, she guarded a painful secret right up until her death in 2017, at the age of 80. For decades, Moore had been quietly suffering from severe vision issues triggered by type 1 diabetes. She was dangerously close to total blindness during the latter half of her life. Yet, she refused to let the public know. Her husband, Dr. Robert Levine, confirmed this in a later interview, revealing that Moore had managed to hide her fading sight even while the cameras were rolling. After she was gone, Levine launched the Mary Tyler Moore Vision Initiative in her honor. This nonprofit organization brings people together to combat vision loss and blindness linked to diabetes. Moore's true legacy isn't just her filmography, but her hidden battle and posthumous dedication to helping others in similar darkness. Finally, there is James Gandolfini, the powerhouse behind the complex mob boss Tony Soprano in The Sopranos. He left us on June 19, 2013 at just 51. A sudden heart attack during an Italian vacation stunned his family and shook the entertainment industry to its core. Gandolfini left an enduring mark on the world of drama, redefining what it meant to play a villainous yet sympathetic lead. Hollywood was forever changed not just by his powerhouse acting talent, but also by the extraordinary warmth and kindness he showed when the cameras stopped rolling. Behind the curtain, James Gandolfini was legendary for his massive heart. Steve Schirripa, famous for portraying Bobby Bacalieri in The Sopranos, opened up in a 2013 radio interview about a stunning act of kindness where Gandolfini gifted $33,000 to every single one of the 16 main cast members during the series' 4th season. This wasn't just a casual present, it was his genuine way of expressing gratitude to his peers for their loyalty and dedication. Schirripa often remarked that Gandolfini the man was even more impressive than the actor, constantly highlighting his gentle and benevolent spirit. Taking his generosity to another level, the star once voluntarily distributed over $500,000 from his own $13 million contract among the cast and crew members. This occurred during a tense period when a bitter salary dispute with HBO threatened to completely shut down production on The Sopranos, a move that could have left countless crew members unemployed. Gandolfini's selfless financial sacrifice and loyalty to his friends and co-workers illuminated his true character, proving he was a hero far beyond the television screen. While his passing signaled the tragic conclusion of an era, for the Sopranos family, his reputation as both a titanic performer and a beautiful soul endures. The quiet deeds he performed in private were just as spectacular as his Emmy-winning performances, cementing his status as a cherished icon who deeply loved the people in his orbit. If you want more hidden truths, subscribe to Legacy Unmasked. Jimmy Savile. For decades, Jimmy Savile was an untouchable titan in the United Kingdom, celebrated for his quirky eccentricity and tireless charitable endeavors. He was the face of the BBC, hosting iconic programs like Top of the Pops and Jim'll Fix It. His journey to stardom kicked off in the 1950s as a dance hall manager and DJ before he skyrocketed to national treasure status with Top of the Pops running from 1964 to 1988. His public, philanthropy, and oddball persona made him one of the most adored personalities in British history. However, the narrative took a dark turn after Savile died. In 2011, when the public was hit with a barrage of horrific allegations, it emerged that he had been a prolific and predatory abuser with countless reports surfacing regarding gross misconduct and assault. The BBC later admitted that as many as 72 individuals had allegedly been victimized by Savile on their own premises. As investigators dug deeper, they unearthed even more disturbing claims, including incidents at Stoke Mandeville Hospital, where Savile had access to vulnerable patients. By the close of 2012, the number of victims stepping out of the shadows exceeded 450. Despite persistent rumors and whispers about his depravity while he was alive, no legal charges were ever brought against him, and the warnings were swept under the rug. It was only after he was in the grave that the monstrous scale of his crimes truly came into focus. In the wake of these sickening revelations, institutions scrambled to revoke Savile's honorary military and academic titles, stripping him of the Green Beret honor from the Royal Marines and his honorary doctorate from the University of Leeds. The exposure of Savile's double life remains one of the most chilling scandals in entertainment history, permanently destroying his memory and revealing a monster hiding in plain sight. Matthew Perry. The world was left heartbroken when Matthew Perry, the comedic genius behind Chandler Bing on Friends, died on October 28, 2023, at just 54 years old. He was discovered unresponsive in his jacuzzi, and while early theories leaned toward accidental drowning, the toxicology report later confirmed a fatal overdose of ketamine was the primary cause. Perry had spent decades fighting a brutal war against addiction to alcohol and prescription pills, a private battle that often eclipsed his professional success. His harrowing journey with substance dependency started in his teenage years, and over time he became incredibly candid about his demons. He admitted to drinking heavily and abusing narcotics even during his earliest days of stardom in Hollywood. Yet after enduring years of severe addiction, Perry managed to turn his tragedy into purpose, transforming into a vocal advocate for sobriety and rehabilitation. He collaborated closely with the National Association of Drug Court professionals, dedicating his life to helping others navigate the road to recovery. In 2013, his advocacy was recognized with the Champion of Recovery Award from the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy. Although he seemed to have found peace and stability in his final years, disturbing new details emerged after his funeral. Several anonymous insiders alleged that Perry had never truly stopped using drugs recreationally in the years leading up to his death, managing to conceal his relapses from the public eye. These sources further claimed that his substance use fueled erratic and aggressive behavior in private, purportedly leading to a physical confrontation with a close friend and accusations of mistreatment from a former romantic partner. The Los Angeles Police Department subsequently opened a criminal probe into the source of the ketamine that ended his life, leaving his global fanbase and inner circle reeling from the shock. Perry's tragic end serves as a stark reminder of the relentless nature of addiction and the silent suffering that even the most beloved stars endure behind closed doors. For more deep dives into celebrity secrets, stay tuned to Legacy Unmasked. Clark Gable, the man immortalized as the king of Hollywood. Clark Gable passed away on November 16, 1960, at the age of 59 following a massive heart attack. His unexpected death signaled the final curtain call for the golden age of Hollywood. Gable's ascent to superstardom began in the 1930s, and he rapidly established himself as the box office king of his generation. He secured an Academy Award for Best Actor for his iconic performance in It Happened One Night, and his filmography boasts decades of cinematic masterpieces. However, it was only long after he was laid to rest that a bombshell revelation about his private life surfaced, changing how we view his legacy. Gable's secret daughter and the controversy surrounding her birth became a scandal that rewrote his personal history. One of Tinseltown's biggest open secrets involved Judy Lewis, the biological daughter born from a forbidden liaison with actress Loretta Young. This illicit romance ignited on the set of the 1935 blockbuster Call of the Wild. At the time, Young and the King of Hollywood were co-stars, but their sizzling on-screen chemistry masked a private affair that resulted in Young falling pregnant out of wedlock. Desperate to sidestep a career-ending scandal, she vanished from the spotlight to give birth in secret, later orchestrating an elaborate ruse to adopt the very child she had birthed. For decades, the true parentage was buried under lies, and it was not until years down the line that Young finally admitted Gable was the biological father, a shattering truth that Judy Lewis unearthed while researching for her authorized biography, Forever Young. It took a heartbreaking confrontation with her mother to confirm the suspicions she had harbored since she was 31 years old. Young eventually confessed to the rumors that had swirled for years, prompting Judy to pen her own memoir, Uncommon Knowledge, laying bare the reality of her lineage and how living in the shadow of such a colossal secret defined her existence. While Clark Gable's status as a silver screen, legend remains largely untouched. The exposure of his secret love child adds a fascinating layer of human fallibility to his narrative, making his life story even more compelling for modern fans and historians. Switching gears to a tragic teen idol, David Cassidy, universally adored for his breakout role in The Partridge Family, left this world on November 21st, 2017, at the age of 67. His passing was the result of catastrophic complications arising from liver failure, a devastating condition exacerbated by his decades-long agonizing battle with alcohol dependency. In a moment of raw vulnerability, he once stated, "I don't mind being remembered for being an alcoholic. I don't mind being that." However, less than a year before his untimely death, Cassidy stunned his audience during a chaotic gig in Agora Hills, California, where he was seen visibly struggling to recall the lyrics to hits he had been singing for nearly 50 years. The disturbing footage went viral, prompting Cassidy to announce that he was suffering from dementia and would be retiring from the stage, citing a family history where both his mother and grandfather had succumbed to the same degenerative disease. Yet the heartbreaking truth surfaced later: Cassidy had never actually been diagnosed with dementia. In the telling documentary, David Cassidy, The Last Session, the star admitted that his deteriorating liver was the real culprit behind his declining health and cognitive lapses. He confessed to deceiving his family about his sobriety, revealing that his physical collapse was actually the direct consequence of severe alcohol poisoning. According to Serena Weinfeld, the co-producer of the documentary, Cassidy's final act of honesty was not intended to be sensationalist, but rather to offer a stripped-down, truthful account of the demons that led to his demise. Weinfeld noted that Cassidy felt his story on Legacy Unmasked would be best honored by sharing the grim reality of what ultimately claimed his life. Then there is the heartbreaking tale of River Phoenix, born on August 23, 1970 in Modesto, California. He was a prodigious actor and gifted musician, immortalized by his standout performances in classics like Stand By Me and My Own Private Idaho. Phoenix quickly became a cherished icon in Hollywood, revered for his raw, soulful intensity and his uncanny ability to inhabit complex, emotionally fragile characters. His immense acting prowess garnered him critical acclaim and a fiercely loyal following. Tragically, Phoenix's promising journey was abruptly extinguished when he succumbed to a fatal drug overdose on October 31st, 1993, at the tender age of 23. He collapsed on the sidewalk outside the Viper Room, a notorious nightclub in Los Angeles, and was pronounced dead shortly after due to a lethal cocktail of substances found in his system. His sudden, violent departure sent shockwaves through the industry, tearing away the veil from the struggles he had kept meticulously private. It emerged after his death that Phoenix had been fighting a losing war with substance use, a dark challenge he had managed to conceal from the glaring public eye. He had long battled the grip of addiction, and his premature exit served as a grim testament to the perils of drug abuse, proving that darkness can consume even those who appear to have the world at their feet. Despite his brief time in the limelight, Phoenix left behind a library of exceptional work that continues to resonate with and inspire new generations of actors today. His tragic finale stands as a somber reminder of the immense pressures and invisible battles that even the brightest luminaries endure, and he is remembered with deep affection by fans and friends alike for his gentle spirit, kindness, and the infinite potential of what might have been. Finally, we look at Burt Reynolds, born on February 11th, 1936 in Lansing, Michigan. He blossomed into a cinematic legend celebrated for his alpha male charisma in hits like Smokey and the Bandit, Deliverance, and Boogie Nights. Throughout the 1970s and 80s, Reynolds was an unstoppable force in Hollywood, idolized for his rugged good looks and undeniable screen presence. His career trajectory made him a box office titan, and his charm secured his spot as a global favorite. However, beneath the veneer of his superstardom, Reynolds grappled with severe financial turbulence later in life. In 1996, he filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, declaring debts that exceeded $10 million. His penchant for a lavish lifestyle, coupled with a fiercely expensive divorce from actress Lonnie Anderson and a series of sour investments, played a significant part in his monetary downfall. To make matters worse, he hemorrhaged money in several doomed business ventures, including a restaurant chain that failed to take off. These financial catastrophes cast a long shadow over his later years. Reynolds took his final bow on September 6, 2018, at the age of 82 following a cardiac arrest. His death signaled the curtain call for a long and illustrious career. In the wake of his passing, the public reflected on his legacy, remembering him not just as a movie star, but as a man who navigated intense personal and professional tempests. Despite the fiscal hardships that plagued him, Burt Reynolds remains an enduring icon of American cinema, with his unforgettable performances and contributions to the entertainment world continuing to inspire audiences on Legacy Unmasked. Industry where stars burn out as quickly as they rise. His narrative stands as a powerful reminder that brilliance often comes with a heavy price. Mark on the world. Heath Ledger started his ascent on Australian TV screens before crossing the ocean to chase the American dream. While he initially charmed audiences as a heartthrob in the high school classic 10 Things I Hate About You, he yearned for something deeper. Yet it was his terrifying and mesmerizing transformation into the Joker for The Dark Knight in 2008 that cemented his status. He wasn't just acting, he was channeling something raw. During production, Heath became obsessed with crafting a villain unlike any other. To truly become the clown prince of crime, he locked himself away in a London hotel room for 6 solitary weeks, cutting off the outside world. In that isolation, he kept a chilling diary, diving deep into the abyss of the character's mind, testing different voices and twisted laughs. Heartbreakingly, on January 22, 2008, the world lost him at just 28 years old to an accidental mix of prescription pills. Long after he was gone, the haunting pages of that specific diary were unveiled in the documentary Too Young to Die, showing his method. The book was a window into madness, filled with chaotic scribbles, pictures of hyenas, clown makeup tests, and unsettling clippings. He drew inspiration from disturbing classics like A Clockwork Orange, writing nonsense from the Joker's twisted perspective. He listed things the villain found amusing, like AIDS and landmines. On the final page, he scrawled a large, ominous bye-bye. Heath's absolute surrender to the role changed acting forever, leaving a scar on the industry and a gift for fans that remains timeless. That final bone-chilling performance won him a posthumous Oscar for Best Supporting Actor, ensuring his name remains legendary. Monumental talent will echo through eternity. Then there is the Titan Marlon Brando, a man who redefined the art of performance entirely. The screen legend took his final bow on July 1, 2004, at the age of 80, succumbing to respiratory failure. His lungs had been failing due to pulmonary fibrosis, bringing a quiet end to a loud life. His passing truly closed a major chapter in cinema. He was the rebel king of Hollywood, shattering the mold with raw emotion in masterpieces like A Streetcar Named Desire. From the brooding intensity of The Godfather to the grit of On the Waterfront, Brando didn't just act, he existed on screen. He famously threw out the rulebook, despising polished techniques in favor of a gritty natural realism that made audiences uncomfortable. Off-screen, he was just as provocative, openly discussing his fluid sexuality long before it was acceptable, admitting he slept with both men and women. But the true extent of his private escapades remained buried until well after he was gone, when shocking whispers turned into headlines. In a candid 2018 interview, music mogul Quincy Jones dropped a bombshell that stunned the entertainment world. He claimed Brando had a steamy affair with the comedy icon Richard Pryor. The internet exploded, and while Pryor's daughter initially hesitated, the comedian's widow later verified the story. She revealed that Richard was never one to hide his bisexuality or his adventures. According to her, the tryst with Brando was just another chapter in the comedian's wild life, nothing he would have ever denied. Further proof surfaced in 2019 with the Richard Pryor Diaries, which detailed his intimate encounters with other men. These revelations painted a new picture of Brando, adding layers of complexity to a man who was already a mysterious puzzle to the public. Finally, we remember the master of versatility, Philip Seymour Hoffman, born on July 23, 1967 in upstate New York. He was an actor's actor, a chameleon who could vanish into any role commanding respect from critics and peers alike. Whether in The Master Doubt or Capote, his performances were magnetic, pulling viewers into the tortured souls of his characters. His uncanny transformation into Truman Capote earned him the ultimate prize, the Academy Award for Best Actor, sealing his greatness. But behind the accolades and the red carpet smiles, Hoffman was fighting a private war with demons that refused to stay buried. He spent decades sober, but the monster of addiction returned, leading him into a downward spiral of substance abuse later in life. He tried to shield his family and his reputation from the tabloids, though he never lied about his past struggles when asked. He admitted to his vulnerabilities seeking rehab, but the grip of the drugs was relentless. On February 2, 2014, tragedy struck. Hoffman was found dead at 46, the victim of a toxic cocktail of heroin, cocaine, and benzodiazepines. The news sent shockwaves across the globe. A beloved genius was gone too soon, taken by the very darkness he often portrayed so well. Tributes poured in from every corner of Hollywood, mourning the loss of a man known for his immense kindness and gentle spirit. Hoffman's legacy is defined by his obsessive dedication to truth in art. He brought a profound, aching humanity to every script he touched. His spirit survives in the incredible library of films he left for us. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's hidden histories, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Legacy Unmasked